Hey everybody, Corbs here, and in this video we're talking about the volume profile. This by far is my favorite type of video to make because in a very real sense, the volume profile has changed my life. I had been trading for a long time before I was introduced to volume profiling. And before that, the markets I had traded, the time frames I had tried, the systems I had been through, all of that left me with a very low level of just personal mastery. And because of that, a lot of confusion about what I was actually doing and terribly mixed results in my actual trading. The P&L was a mess. When I was introduced to volume profile, this was the first thing that really made sense to me. Being able to stick with this method and being able to develop a high level of mastery with this approach, this is what led me to being able to quit everything else, to do this full time, to build a six-figure trading business, and to be on my way to my ultimate goal, which is seven-figure trader status. And when I get there, I will still be using the volume profile. And I fully believe that everybody at some level, they should incorporate a profile into their method. Even if you're not going to exclusively use it like I do, there's a lot of benefit that you can draw from using the profile. Okay, so if you've ever thought about using the profile and maybe you're starting to dabble in it, if you're new to profiling and maybe you're not exactly sure what it is, or really if you've used the profile before and you feel at some level like it didn't work, stick with this video because I'm going to be addressing 5 major errors that traders make when they're new to using the volume profile. I want to break these down because I'm sure that you have committed these. All right, let's jump into these. I've made a list of a bunch of these errors that I know traders are committing. And before I pulled out 5 of them, and before we go into these, I think it's good to address that the root cause of all of these errors, they come from going out and being half-cocked with information and trying to use the profile. For some reason, specifically with volume profiling, I think order flow is another one. I'm sure there's other areas, but with order flow and with volume profile, it's very common to get a sense of what's happening here, kind of get it like a bit of the principle behind it, and then to rush out and start making trade decisions and start really interfering with your entire method based on what you're seeing happen on a depth of market or something like that. And this is a big error. And if you're ever looking to take something new and incorporate that into your current method, what you need to do is to take it at its most basic, like simple level and start using that in one specific way. Okay, so if you're picking up on order flow and you learn a concept on order flow of how it's working, then start using it in your order entries. Like when you're drilled in, you have a setup, you're getting ready to enter, start observing and seeing, is there anything I can benefit from this when I'm placing a trade? If there is, then start incorporating that and going deeper with it, and then move on to incorporating that in other parts of your trading. Whether it's your management, understanding, using order flow to see if this trade you're in is got some juice to it, or if it's not really doing that good of a job of getting where it's going. Your order exits and other things as well. But the main thing being, when you're learning something and you don't have a high level of mastery with it, go back to just its very basic sense and start tackling one piece of it at a time and then building upon that. And that's how you can get very good at order flow. That's how you'll get very good at volume profiling and other skill sets when it comes to trading. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into these. The first one that we're going to cover, the first error that makes a mess out of your P&L when using the volume profile is, I'm going to go with this one. Treating the volume profile like a buy here, sell here system. This is a massive error. So let's jump into my charts and I'm going to pull up an example. If we look at, here's a good one. This is the Russell, and what we're seeing here with these green and red lines, I have these ones extended out, but these are high and low volume areas. And what happens is we get enough information about the profile to know that high volume areas are very attractive prices and they're going to work as magnets. And then we know that low volume areas are very unpopular prices and they work really well as support and resistance. So understanding that concept is very simple, and what happens is if you go out and you try to apply that to the profile, okay, we can see here a very powerful example of how this actually works. The Russell opened up today. We had a very strong move higher. We got right up to this LVN above. We failed, and then had ultimately a pretty strong move down as well. Okay, but we stopped and we halted and couldn't get past that LVN. LVNs work very well as support and resistance. But the volume profile is not a buy here, sell here system. And I know what happens is typically the volume profile is not the first method you get involved with. As traders, I feel like we have to just go through this path of doing a bunch of stupid systems. And then once we've matured a little bit in our trading, then we're ready to handle something like the volume profile. And if you try to treat it like it's a MACD or Bollinger Bands or something where when this line crosses this line, you're supposed to buy, if you go into it with that mentality, you're going to make a mess out of your P&L, because when it comes to the profile, context is king. And if you're just at a high or low volume area and you start executing trades, you're going to get massively mixed results, and it's not going to work out well for you. And that's a huge error that I know people make when they're trading, is treating the volume profile like a buy here, sell here system. It is not that. Okay, let's go jump into the second one, which is a really good one as well. I'll do this one. Okay, buying the low, the high and low of the value area arbitrarily. Okay, let's look at the ES. And this was a really good example. So this is a trigger chart. It's extremely noisy, but you'll get the sense of what's happening here. On the ES today, this was a really great trade that took place. What ended up happening is the ES, we opened up, we had this strong move that was pretty wild. And then right in here, we based at the value area low. The profile develops as the day goes on. So what we're seeing here, the point of control, value area high, low, these things change as the day develops out. And what we saw right in here was we tested the value area low, we came back up and we held this. Okay, the value area shifted up slightly, it was a little farther down when this was going on. All right, but this right here, anchoring in on this trade, taking it to the other side of value. All right, in this situation, the initial balance was still intact. So taking it to the other side of the initial balance and a little bit of range extension, this was an incredibly nice trade. And this is a very powerful way to use the profile. Okay, this was a trade that we took today. And this, when I say this is a very powerful way to trade, taking this value area extremes of this profile up and down, on the ES here, we netted almost $2,400 trading that. This is very powerful to use the value area extremes in your trading. But if you just go out half-cocked, and because we're at a value area low or high, you want to buy the value area low, or you want to sell or short the value area high, you're going to make a mess out of your P&L. In order to do this, you have to be educated and be able to understand the market that you're trading, the product that you're on. You have to know what is going on. Who is in charge? Are the bulls in charge? Are the bears in charge? Is anybody in charge? Because what's going to happen is there are some very distinct times that you need to avoid trying to fade those value area extremes. There's some situations like today where we needed to lay off the value area high. We didn't want to short that. We didn't want to use that. But getting in at the value area low and taking it up was a very valid option that presented itself a couple different times for some really nice trades. But if you don't have that context and if you don't have that skill to understand where you need to be at this, and you're just using the extremes of the value area, it's a massive mistake, and you're going to make a mess out of your P&L, because there's some times that we just need to be avoiding it. And then there's some times where we're green lighted and we can really go in heavy on these extremes of the profile. Okay, let's go ahead and pick out number 3. I'll do this. Drawing profiles at random places. Okay, this is a really big one as well. If we look at, let's just look at the volume profile. This is some daily profiles here, and you can see from this example, I'm bringing in a ton of data here. And of all the days that I'm bringing in, we have all of these high and low volume areas that are shaped up and that are forming. If you're doing something intraday, it's not that big of a deal. In this example, like this is where the day starts, this is where the day ends. And if you're using a daily profile, then that's fine because there's no confusion there. But if you're bringing in multiple days, and as traders using the profile, we need to be doing this. We can't just rely on the daily profile. We need to bring in multiple days, sometimes months or years of information to get the actual picture of what are our high and low volume areas of interest. That's how we get them. We don't really get those levels off a daily profile. We have to get those off of a larger time frame. But as you take a profile and you start it and you stop it, where you start it and where you stop it literally will change the information that you're looking at. And this will be kind of a zoomed in example, so it's probably not going to be as powerful, but you can see where I've started this profile and where it ends over here, bringing in these days, and you can get a very good look of how the profile is shaping up, what it looks like, okay? And then maybe the biggest change would be if we zoomed in and saw where the value area high and low was, okay? Kind of see where that starts is the value area low and all this other area. And if you have these amount of days brought in, well, if you take this and you were to change where you start the profile and go in back here and start bringing this in, what you'll notice is the context here of the profile changes. Certain high and low volume areas, they either go away or they're not nearly as defined, or in this case, in some case, more defined. And then obviously the value area is going to shift dramatically as well, okay? So this isn't bringing in that much data, so it's not that drastic of an example, but you get my point, is if you don't know where to start and where to stop the profile, and you're trying to use the information as this is a high level, this is a high volume area or a low volume area that I'm going to be making my trade decisions based on, and you're starting and stopping it at a dumb time or at the wrong time, then the high and low volume areas and the value areas and the point of control, whatever you're looking at, is not going to be right. It's going to be incorrect. So you're going to be trading, and it's not that the profile didn't work, it's that your levels are just inaccurate. So knowing where to start and where to stop the profile when you're drawing in large amounts of data is incredibly important. And a lot of traders, they don't do this intelligently. And they're either doing it randomly or they're just doing it on what looks or feels right, but it has to be done a specific way. And if you're out there and you don't know where to start or where to stop your profiles, and you're trying to make trade decisions based on what you're seeing there, then you're going to make a mess out of your P&L because there's no telling whether or not the levels you're using are good, right? And so that's a massive error. Let's jump into the next one. Number 4, let's go with this. I have several of these, and I think 5 is good for a video, so let me know in the comments if you want me to do more videos like this, especially on things not to do with the profile, because I have plenty more that I could do. So let me know if you want more of this. I think 5 is good for one video, but let me do this. I'll do fading extremes back to previous value areas. All right, this is an incredibly powerful way to use the profile. And I actually don't know if this is better to say not doing this or doing this, but let me pull up an example here, okay? So this is the ES. This is just going back several days, a very recent example. I'm not cherry picking these out. But one extremely powerful way that we can use the profile is if we open up and we are away from the previous value area, okay, getting involved in taking price back to retest that. Okay, here's what it looks like. In this example, we are trading in this gap above. This was the previous day. This is where we opened. And this would be the value area from the previous day. This gray area, all these gray areas are the value areas, right? So we open up in this gap above, and then we retest the previous value area. In this case, we did some massive selling. We tagged the point of control. We did the other side, put in a bearish engulfing. So a lot of selling happened there. Okay, the day before this is we opened up here, and this was the previous value area. Okay, what we did, we dropped. We couldn't really go much farther after that first big initial move, and then we found some support, rallied back up, retested the value area of the previous day. Okay, same thing. Here we opened up, did some chopping around, dropped back down, retested the previous value area, right? And you can see this is a very common thing that we do, and it's a very strong way to trade the profile. If you are on the right side of this context, to take it back and to use the previous value area as your target, and as a very likely scenario for a trade setup, is powerful. And there's a lot of money to be made by doing this. But just like several other ways we can use the profile, if we just open up and you're arbitrarily, trying to fade or trying to buy it up to get to this previous value areas, but you're not doing it under very specific criteria, you're going to open yourself up to just getting smashed on your P&L, and just a lot of frustrating in your trading because, hey, we're opening up here, we should be heading back there, but not necessarily. Very specific things have to shape up in order for that to be valid. And if it's not valid, but you're still involved with it, then it's not going to end up well for you. All right, let's go ahead and cover number 5 of these trading errors that people make when they're new to the profile. And the 5th and last one I want to cover is putting too much weight on the developing profile. Every day when the session starts, the daily profile is starting and it's forming. And what ends up happening is as it starts and as it grows, as it develops, the information changes. Because as volume is printed and as the day progresses, with every tick that goes on, there's new information to be filtered, and the profile will change as the day happens. And so if we crank this up, and I'll just put this on a time lapse, but we can see how, take note of where value area high and low is, take note of where the point of control is. And what you'll see as a session like this progresses, areas that weren't really on the radar. Now this is, for instance, there's a big LVN right here that's very important in separating this two parts of the day, right? The point of control just shifted. I'm going to pause that because that's going crazy. The point of control just shifted down. The value area, which was way up in here, is now dropped way down. Right, and so what's happening here? Well, as the day is developing, the profile is changing. And if as the day is starting and it's early in the session, you cannot put a lot of weight on the information that daily profile is giving you because it's going to be changing, right? So if you're looking at, let's say, the day starting and there's just 15, 20 minutes of the day in, and you're looking at the point of control, well, you can't really put that much importance on the point of control. The point of control being the most popular price of that day, the most traded price. Okay, that's an important thing to know. But with 20 minutes into the session, it's not that important. It's like saying this person was the best in class, right? The top of their class, which is a big deal, but it's not that big of a deal if you have 11 people in your class. And the same thing happens with the profile. Everything that was happening back in here when there was only 20 or 30 minutes in the session is not that relevant. Here, we got a good couple hours, hour and a half into the session, right? Now we're starting to see some real things and we're starting to get a different story of what's happening. And so if the initial balance is not set yet, the first hour isn't even underway, then really take what's happening on that daily profile and just be observing it, but don't try to put too much importance on the levels that it's giving you. Because if you do, you're going to find, okay, getting in at value area low, but then all of a sudden, maybe getting long at value area low, but then value area low shifts like crazy, and now you find yourself in the middle of the profile or something like that, right? That kind of thing happens, especially if you're getting in way too early, okay? So that's going to go ahead and wrap up this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it and that provided some value. You know what to do with the likes and the subscribes. Make sure as well you comment and let me know what you thought about this video and if I should make more like this. I will never run out of topics when it comes to the volume profile. I love making these type of videos. If you want to see more of them, just let me know. I'll put some of those in the pipeline, okay? I still have a couple links in the description. One of them is for some training. The other one is if you want to jump on a call with me. We can talk about, have a strategy session, just a focus time, literally one-on-one. I'll be doing this for a few more weeks until Next Level Trading is launched and ready to go. Okay, so I hope you guys hope you got something out of this video, and hope to see you in the next one. Be well, everybody. Happy trading. Watch your risk, and I'll talk to you guys soon.